I'm audible. Firstly, thank you all for giving me this opportunity to speak few words from the Bhagavad Gita today in this auspicious month of Kartik. I'll just share my screen and let's start by reciting the prayers. Is my screen visible?
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji. So let's start by reciting the prayers. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Shaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamutivahe Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Nama Vishnupadhaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swamini Namine Nama Acharya Padaya Nitakripapadayane Gaurakatatahamadhaya Nagarakatamatayanne Nama Vishnupadhaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachayane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktananda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today we are going to be discussing a verse from the chapter 2 text 7, and I'll recite this verse and then read out the translation. Kalpanya doshapahata svabhava prachami tvam dhamma sammuda chetaha yachchreyasyan nishchitam bruhitanme sishyaste aham sadhi mam tvam prapannam. Translation: Now I am confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of miserly weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a surrendered soul unto you. Please instruct me. So, in this verse, the context is that Arjuna is telling Lord Krishna that he is in a very troubled state of mind, and he's not able to think in the proper direction. And he conveys to the Lord, saying that he's perplexed about what to do. And in the translation, Arjuna says that I am your disciple and a surrendered soul unto you. So these words are nothing but Arjuna expressing his dependence on the Lord. So on the same context, what Srila Prabhupada says that in this material world, we humans are also always in the stage where we lack clarity and proper guidance in life. And everything that we do is always, encapsulated within the clutches of Maya. And it all is also automatically affected by the three miseries like Adhyatmik, Adi Bhautik, and Adi Daivik. So we need to depend on the Lord to come out of these miseries is what Srila Prabhupada is conveying us. And here Prabhupada gives an example. So when a person is a billionaire or a multimillionaire, or someone is highly academically qualified, or maybe someone has many great accomplishments in sports, or at that time one may become absorbed in that little world. So Prabhupada uses this word saying frog in the well. So like a frog in the well, uh, one may imagine that the whole world is revolving around himself. So at such times one often feels no need to approach anyone for anything, or sometimes one may feel that whole world is under his feet and every person or everything is at his service. So such a person often becomes forgetful of the reality, and he forgets his dependence on God. And dependence on God is required because for it is our primal point of survival. And although we cannot breathe even for a moment without Lord offering us air to breathe, we cannot survive without water, grains, and we cannot think without a brain or a body to act. But still, it is the human tendency to become, forgetful about Lord's role in a person's life and get carried away by Maya's illusion. So I was actually listening to a lecture by Radhesham Prabhuji, and Prabhuji gives a small story. So once there was a millionaire who is owner of a very profitable company, and on the way he encountered some thieves who stopped his car and snatched his bag, which had millions of dollars. So first they discussed about how they split the cash and amongst themselves, and later the discussion comes to whether to kill this millionaire or to spare his life. So while they were discussing, the millionaire he signals to the driver to take a quick U-turn and rush back, and somehow he escaped from the situation and his life was saved. But the millionaire, he used to get nightmares of this event for weeks and months, and he couldn't get away from the fear until he met a Krishna conscious devotee. And this devotee, he taught him the knowledge of how the soul is imperishable, and he educated him how to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. So all these, it dissolved his anxieties and it lifted his spirits, and he gained peace, and he was confident in Lord's shelter. And then Prabhuji tells that he shares this example whenever he wants to, uh, convey that uh, at the most needy hour, all this money doesn't help us. Only the Lord's divine words of wisdom can relieve us from this point when we are in the most dangerous situation. So, moving on further, we are now aware that Arjuna is actually a very powerful person, but there are many instances where the Shastras tell how powerful Arjuna is. So, Arjuna's bow is called Gandiva, and it is said that it is so powerful that by the sound of the bowstring, that is enough to scare the enemies and make them panic. And Arjuna is also the best among all of the Dronacharya students. And Arjuna defeated Lord Shiva and he acquired the Pashupata weapon from him. And then Lord Indra has given Arjuna many celestial weapons. And Arjuna also defeated many great Gandharvas like, Chitraratha and so on. And Arjuna was also so self-controlled that even the heavenly damsel Urvashi, when she offered herself, he rejected her proposal. And during the martial arts exhibition, Arjuna also produced fire, water, rain, and many other natural circumstances. And at last, he made them all of them disappear as well. So this shows how great and powerful Arjuna is. And even after being so powerful, he was hesitant in the battle and was giving excuses to the Lord. And he was justifying why he was not willing to fight in this battle and kill his own relatives. So moving on further, let's see what happens when Arjuna is slowly losing confidence in the battle. So what Arjuna does, he puts his Gandiva bow down and he burst into tears in indecision. And he wanted Dharma to be established, but for that purpose, he has to kill his sinful relatives, which he could not do, or he was not ready to do at that moment. Therefore, since he was unable to solve his real problem without the help of spiritual master, Lord Krishna, Uh, Prabhupada says that academic knowledge, this high position or high status of birth, abundant wealth, all of these, they're actually useless in solving the problems of life. And in one of the lecture that I heard on the same topic, it is said that like Arjuna, all the people even in today's modern times, who live with high education, advanced medical facilities, lot of wealth. a lot of technological, advancements, all these amenities of life, they're also suffering some stress, tension, lamentation, indecision, loneliness, and they do not know how to get out of all these troubles. However, in Arjuna's case, what he did was he offered himself to Krishna as a disciple and he wanted to stop the friendly talks. So, here is an important point. So, it is said talks between the spiritual master and the disciple are always very serious. And Arjuna also wanted to talk very seriously before, Jagat Guru, who is Lord Krishna himself. So, uh, we all need a spiritual master who comes in the line of Lord Krishna and Arjuna and who can enlighten us and, eliminate all the ignorance and suffering from our lives. And the word that Prabhupada emphasizes here is that uh, taking shelter of a guru is the safest port to enlightenment. So Prabhupada says that taking the shelter of a guru is the best path. And we also have many examples in the Shastras, like how when the king of the whole world, who is Maharaj Parikshit, he came to know that he had only 7 days to live. What he did at once, he renounced and relinquished all the pleasures of the world, and at once he took the shelter of his spiritual master Sukadev Goswami. So like this, one should be ready to discipline oneself under the guidance of a spiritual master or a bona fide spiritual master. Uh, if one is really serious and sincere about purifying one's goal in this life, that is going back home, back to Godhead. So moving on next, we now understand that we have to have a guru in order to guide and monitor us in our path of bhakti. So let us see some qualities that are needed from our side as a disciple, as stated by Srila Prabhupada. So the first quality is humble surrender. So a disciple should be submissive and he should humbly surrender to the spiritual master. And one should consider oneself as a fool in front of the guru, and he should put aside all his preconceived notions that he had learned earlier, maybe from many unreliable sources and so on. So the best example for this is in which Sanatan Goswami surrendered unto the Supreme Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So actually Sanatan Goswami is a great devotee and he's actually a cabinet minister in the state of Bengal. And he had a very rich background, but still he fell onto the feet of Mahaprabhu and he said that I am a fool, and he inquired humbly about the devotional process. And here there's a story that Srila Prabhupada talks about one small boy. So once a boy approached the best Mridanga teacher in the town, and he wanted to learn how to play Mridanga. So the teacher asked him, "Do you know any beats in Mridanga?" And the boy, very enthusiastically, he said, "Oh, yes, Prabhuji, I know a few beats which I learned myself and from some of my friends and so on." And he was very enthusiastic. So the teacher told him, "Your fees will be 200 rupees and you can join." And after some time, there's another student who knew nothing about playing Mridanga. So he comes and he joins the class, and the teacher tells him, "Your fees is 100 rupees." And now, when the first boy comes to know that this person is paying only 100 rupees, he comes to the teacher and he asks, "I already know some beats in playing Mridanga. How is it that I am being charged more than this student who knows nothing about this?" So the teacher then says that you have acquired, hodgepodge knowledge in Mridanga. So the word Prabhupada uses is hodgepodge. indicating that knowledge from unreliable sources. So, this hodgepodge knowledge about Mridanga has to be first undoed, and after undoing all the wrong beats, then you have to learn the correct beats. So that is the reason I'm charging you 200 rupees. And whereas the other student, he's like a blank slate and he's totally, receptive to learning. And he can grasp all the beats from the start easily. So I charged him 100 rupees, and for you, I'm charging 200 rupees, is what the teacher said. So similarly, people in modern times, they are filled with many misconceptions about religion, and they think that they know everything. So without an open mind, it is difficult for one to learn anything or achieve any, realization. So that is the reason humble surrender is very important. And the second point Prabhupada says is inquisitiveness. So a disciple must be very sincerely inquisitive about the goal of life, which is, going back home, back to Godhead. And even animals like cats, dogs, they're all inquisitive about food and shelter and so on. But being inquisitive is not about how to feed family members in, five-star hotel, or getting a loan to build a, apartment, or getting promotion in the office by working hard or involving oneself in office politics. All these, it is not appreciated in the scripture, uh, because such inquisitiveness does not help one to progress towards the goal of life, which is to go back home, back to Godhead. And here, there are two words or two goals that are mentioned. The short-term goals, which is called as prayers. So this prayers is actually the goals which involve gaining wealth, name, fame, or buying a luxurious car, maybe a rewarding career, and so on. And even if such goals are achieved, such things are temporary and they'll be taken away at the time of death. And the second thing is called Shreyas. Shreyas is nothing but long-term goal. And the long-term goal for us should be to become Krishna conscious and achieve the kingdom of God. And here the disciple must be inquisitive to know why am I suffering, or what is the meaning and ultimate destination of life. So these are some of the questions that an inquisitive disciple should ask his spiritual master. And then we have the third point, which is submissive service. So a disciple should never be proud about his material qualification like education, wealth, high status of birth, and so on, because such qualifications, they have no connection with the spiritual life. And in fact, actually, they may even have an adverse effect. And like how they tell heavy gold crown on the head of the drowning man. This all these, they may increase the false pride of a prospective disciple, and it can obstruct his spiritual advancement. So actually, a disciple should never present his material qualifications in front of the spiritual master. And there are many examples of how great Vaishnavas who have set an example for us to follow. So, His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, he was very highly educated, but he took initiation from Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, who was greatly enlightened in all the Vedic knowledge and scriptures, but he was not highly educated. And then we have Narottam Das Thakur. He was from a very wealthy family and he was a prince. But daily he cleaned the ashrama of Loknath Goswami. And also we have King Prataparudra. He's actually the Maharaj of Orissa. He humbly swept the ground with a broom for Lord Jagannath, And the pastime goes on where he wanted to meet Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he knows that Mahaprabhu would not meet him because he's the king and he involves in material activities. So one fine day he dresses as a common man. He massages the feet of Mahaprabhu, and the pastime goes on like he massages the feet, singing the Gopi Geet, and like this, we need to render submissive service unto our spiritual master, irrespective of our background. Like you might be from a wealthy background or you might have a high status, but in front of the spiritual master, you have to be submissive and render service unto him. And then we have the fourth point, which is devotion unto the Supreme Lord. So the disciple should actually be a devotee of the Lord, as told by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita, I guess 4.3, where he says, Bhakto sime saka cheti rahasyam he etaduttamam. And Lord also tells that there are two classes of men, namely the devotee and then the demon. And the Lord, selected Arjuna as the recipient for Bhagavad Gita, owing to Arjuna being a devotee of the Lord. But for the demon, it is not possible to understand this science of Bhagavad Gita. And Arjuna accepted Krishna as a supreme personality, and any commentary on the Gita following in the footsteps of Arjuna is actually bona fide. The demonic people, they don't accept Lord Krishna, uh, and they concoct, something about Krishna and they mislead themselves, as well as the people who follow or who try to follow the correct path. So a disciple should actually be a devotee of Krishna in order to understand Bhagavad Gita and understand the instruction of his spiritual master. So this leads us to the last and the fifth point, that is unflinching faith in the orders of Guru. So a disciple should have a sincere desire for enlightenment and truthfulness to the spiritual master. And as we discussed previously, birth in a particular caste, race, or a particular religion, all these are not a consideration for becoming a disciple. If one satisfies his guru by rendering sincere service and understanding the Vedic conclusions, he then receives initiation and is a Brahmana. And according to the Vedic standard, anyone can be elevated by the process of training. And there is one pastime I would like to conclude with. So the great sage Dhaumya Rishi, he had three disciples named Aruni, Veda, and Upamanyu. So these were the three disciples which he had. And once during a rainy day, he asked Aruni to go to the field and block the water from entering the field. So then Aruni, he went alone and he tried to stop the water, but the field was water was still leaking and the field was becoming over flooded. So seeing the situation, in order to fulfill the order of his guru, he laid himself down and he stopped the overflooding of water. And later when the guru or Dhaumya Rishi, he came to that spot with other disciples, he heartily blessed Aruni for his surrender. And then the second disciple, Veda, Veda always fasted whenever his guru did not call him for honoring prasadam. He used to, lay on the floor and perform many austerities. But until his guru or Dhamya Rishi came and told him to honor prasadam, he never used to honor prasadam. And then Dhamya Rishi also blessed him because of his austerities. And now to the third disciple, his name is Upamanyu, and he was stubborn and he was lazy, and this made him gain a lot of weight. So then one day Dhaumya Rishi asked him, "How do you maintain yourself?" And Upamanyu replied, "I beg and I eat well." The guru, he tells him that disciple should beg only for the guru and not for oneself. So then, after some months, the disciple was still fat and he was still in the same shape. So, when asked by Dhamyashi, Upanyu replied, I first beg and give it to you. Later, I go and separately beg for myself. Then the Guru scolded him and he told him that all the, prasadam or the alms which he collects by begging, it is the property of the Guru and nothing should be taken without permission of the Guru. So later, Upamanyu was not going outside for collecting any donations or prasadam. And he used to stay in the Goshala and he used to drink the milk from the cows. So then, once Dhamya came to know of this, he became angry and he told him that milk was only meant for the Supreme Lord and not for you. And then Upamanyu was very hungry, and one day he entered the forest and he ate some leaves. And something happened, and he became blind. And he then stumbled and fell into a well. He then chanted few mantras from the Rig Veda, and he invoked the presence of Ashwini Kumars. And they offered him some rice, but Upamanyu, he said, no, I cannot eat anything without giving it to my guru first. And the Ashwini Kumars, they told him that he was alone in the forest and he might die of hunger. But Upamanyu firmly refused to disobey his spiritual master. And at that time, his eyesight it came back, and his guru blessed him. So the blessings of the guru are very important for the disciple to get the realization of the scriptures. And a disciple can achieve the blessings of the guru by, faithfully rendering service to the guru and by giving up one's independent mentality and by sincerely executing service to please the guru and fulfill his instructions. So, with this, I would like to conclude. I thank you all for your patient listening and for giving me this opportunity to serve the Lord today. Hare Krishna.